Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, fetishism, and everything plus size. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get into it. Today we're welcoming to the show for the first time, we've got Shayne.
Hello! Hi, y'all! Thank you for having me.
Of course, my love. How are you today?
I'm great. It's fall is starting to show its face in Chicago a little bit. It's getting a little cooler. It's getting less humid. It has been lovely. I did have to turn my AC on today, but the last couple days I was able to just open the windows and just exist.
Yes. You know, I'm of the belief that hot girl summer bitches have had a chokehold on our culture and society, and much in the pagan idea of the oak and holly king going to war, I think it is time that we slay our enemies and we welcome in Fat Girl Fall, because baby, I like them cooler weathers. I do. I don't want to be sweating under my pits and my titties and my gunt. I don't want that fantasy. That's not for me.
Isn't that what that cuffing season song is about?
Yes.
Yeah, you want like a nice, thick, warm man to have in your bed as a living, breathing hot water bottle. You don't want a man that's covered in hardline muscles. You need a little softness, a little cuddle, a little cushion for such a time as this.
Unless you're both furnaces, then you both tend to be uncomfortable. That's why Matt and I have two fans running all the time when we sleep.
My parents called me Furnace Boy growing up just because, like, I naturally, like, I could be running a 99-degree temperature at any given moment and be, like, completely healthy and fine. I just exude massive amounts of body heat. And so it could be like piss cold outside, like so fucking cold in the middle of winter, and I would crack the window, mostly because the furnaces in my apartment are fierce because this building is old, but I have to. I am so sweaty.
I get it. My partner, in the depth of winter, because he's tall, he's 6'3", so the blood don't always go to them feeties all the way down, you know, so they run cold, lizard-like. And I'm getting comf in the bed. He loves to put them little ice blocks right up on my calves, and he goes, "Ooh, so warm." And I go, "Ah,
ah." Or the worst is when they get there at the small of your back.
Yeah, stop that right now.
Oh.
Well, that's what you get for marrying a giraffe.
That's true. That's true. But listen, Todd, today we're talking about something fun. We're talking about partialism. Sweetie, are we ready to get into the conversation?
Let's get into it.
Fabulous. Well, listen, first things first. Do you have a definition that you use for partialisms? Maybe more specifically, your own partialisms?
I just say I have a fetish or like a thing. Like usually, if I'm explaining it to guys, like my thing is belly buttons. Like that's I say like. I have a thing for belly buttons. Playing with them, having my playing with really gets me off. So that's what I would describe it as. I feel like it's because I really honestly haven't since we first started talking haven't heard the term partialism before, and so I always thought of it as just like it's a fetish, like the same way that people have like feet fetishes, ear fetishes, things of that nature.
It is interesting when you start to look at the spectrum of sex labels. You've got the concept of sexuality, which kind of feels very macro, very far-flung. And then, you know, kink and fetish, to a degree, I think people use rather interchangeably to denote a particular fascination. You've got paraphilia, which the technical designation of fat fetishism comes under paraphilia. Which there's a whole conversation about that and alignments of danger, but that's that conversation. Partialism is kind of another step down, because the definition of a partialism, to be clear, is its sexual interest or focus on a specific body part, often to the exclusion of other areas of the body or even the person as a whole. So, as you say, belly button, very much a partialism, because it's a partial part of the person, you know? It's like there's the broader conversation, like, are you a tits or an ass man? But
right. Yeah,
So you
yeah,
kind
I
of
think it's
you look.
yeah, absolutely very interesting. Personally, I like both. Por que no los dos?
Mm.
I have both. I like both.
I was just gonna say I'm an ass man myself,
Uh,
but that didn't seem like it was pertinent. So
Well, I think it's always pertinent, my love. My
absolutely.
goodness. Oh, I mean, I love me a little bit of both, but certainly, like, there's something about a boy with a dumpy, you just go, oh, like
Mine's
when you're.
genetic.
Well, fuck you, first of all.
I
No,
know, right? I didn't wind up with an ass. Everything got pulled forward.
oh no, you poor darling with your big old donkey dick. Life must be so hard for you as a top.
So this world's tiniest violin. Oh,
Right. So you've been sharing with us that you have a belly button kink. As far as you're aware, because if partialism is defined as, oh, I have a specific fascination with parts of the body, do you know if there are any other partialisms you have? I'm thinking things like feet fetish, foot fetish is a common one. Some people have a thing for noses, for ears. Is that something that you share in, or is it just the belly buttons for you?
it really just is the belly buttons. I mean, like, yeah, that's yeah, pretty much.
And like, because I often think of sexuality in terms of like stacking, thinking of it like if you're doing Photoshop, layers of the thing, simultaneously this and also something else. And so I think for many of us who identify as, belly sexual, gainer sexual, whatever terminology people like to use, a lot of people kind of frame it that like that comes before being gay. Which doesn't detract from being gay, but you can kind of identify that, like, no, 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 without gaining, nothing else happens regardless. Like this has to be the primary, the core of how I operate. With that in mind, does belly button come before fat, before body? Like how does that kind of stack for you?
So for me, I would say I'm a very big person on physical touch. I've always like I'm very big on hugs. I'm very lovey-dovey, touchy-feely, like cuddly. And then from there, it really goes from there. It's like I love to big spoon, like explore a guy's body, but then like center around the belly buttons. And from there, it's like going in like I love to like explore them with my tongue, my finger. I like to look at them. I found that in my experience, that guys with bigger bellies are already more willing to go into like belly button stuff. I feel like a lot of guys who aren't already in the community, so to speak, really like kind of pay attention to it unless they like are other people who already knew like me who knew that they were really like I like was into them before I could really say I was into them. Like like when you're like a kid and you're going to the underwear section and you're like looking at the men's underwear and you're like, I hope this doesn't awaken something in me. Like it was kind of like that, where like I was like I found myself staring at a lot of men's belly buttons, and I was like, huh, okay. And then I grew up, and I was like, oh, I see, okay.
I mean, look, it makes sense. If you think of it through the lens of reproduction, like the belly button is where we were connected to our mothers. So maybe there's something that's like circle of life, animals breeding that could be attached to that identity. The belly button is a hole, so maybe it's reminiscent of, vaginal, anal, I want to put something into, like it's not my thing, but it's, I think, very straightforward to kind of picture like I can kind of see where someone would like arrive at that destination, you know?
Right. Plus, in general, there's a lot of nerve endings in your belly button, and so for some people, it's really sensitive in a good way and a bad way. There have been so many guys where it's like,
Mm.
I don't like it. I hate the feeling of that. So it's like it's sensitive, but they don't like it. And there's people who are just like, if you, like, I feel nothing. Like, do whatever you want. I don't really care. Then there's also there's like a subset. There's like I would say the naval community. I say it's smaller and it doesn't necessarily there definitely are like is a gainer subsection of it, but it's not just gainers. Like it's because I like to think of it as like everyone has a belly button. And so I like if I find your belly button hot, I don't care what size your belly is, like I'm gonna want to talk to you and try and have fun with it. But there's also like within that, of course, there's a subsection of people who are into like naval torture, and that's not my thing. I am not that's not my gig. Kudos to you if that's your thing, absolutely, because like it's a spectrum.
I feel like I was almost aware of like a belly button fetish long before I was aware of gainers because for some reason I think as a kid I was clued into this. There was a lot of stuff in that. Like, remember when we were talking about cartoons in the 90s? There was a lot of stuff that was coded in my childhood for this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, you think about it, like the belly button. I said before, like, oh, it's a hole, it's a vagina, it's an anus. It is a publicly acceptable orifice that we see and become made aware of at a very early age. So, again, it makes sense as like a form of accessibility that someone might find that fascinating. Also, I just want to say, when you said about the naval people, it just like I now think about adverts for people trying to recruit belly button kinksters in the naval, do, and I was like, oh no,
Oh,
for
that's
goodness,
I'm writing that. I know this is being recorded. I'm writing that down.
write that
I'm
down,
stealing that. I'm stealing that. That's
write that down.
amazing.
Fabulous. Listen, I am a wellspring of knowledge and bullshit, as Tim will rightly tell you. So I
Yeah.
think that works
And
perfectly
it's
fine.
and like in tune with like seeing the navel as sexual, like if you think about it, like it's something that's like not considered like considered sexy. It's not like a secondary sex characteristic per se, but in time, but like Cher, for example, Cher was the first person to ever show her like woman to show her navel on camera, like on TV in like the 60s or 70s.
They wouldn't even
And
let
that
Barbara Eden do it back in the
exactly.
50s.
Exactly. And then and there was a guy that I was hooking up with, and he said that in like the 90s, it was really popular in Bollywood movies for the woman's navel to be like the main like sexual like center point, as like,
And
oh, like, ooh.
there is also something about the belly button. It's the middle point between the groin and the breast. It's a sort of middle ground.
Mhm.
If you look at this, you get a little bit of both worlds, I suppose. And I will say, like, I know that one of my big jerk off fantasies, especially when I was younger, I used to be just into the double belly, the split belly situation, and it always splits along the belly button. And guys who have that effect are really prominent with being able to, like, use that as the space where they get fucked. And so it makes sense. Like one of my early like lead in points with gaining was always, oh, look at how fat you've gotten. Your dick has gotten so small. Like your own sense of manliness has been overcome by your own weight. So the same kind of rule applies. God, look at you. You've gotten so fat. Your belly's split in half, and people can use it to fuck you with. God, you just gotten so big and fat. Like the sex appeal, to my mind, is very clear, very, very straightforward when it comes to belly buttons.
Mhm. And in that vein as well, there are many guys I've seen like on Grommr or just like in the internet who've been like a lot of gainers who are like, oh, I'm so excited until my belly button gets deep enough to fuck. Like things of that nature, like that I've seen that
Precisely.
a lot. But I've never seen it just like, oh, like I love when like there's like it's a smaller subject that people are like, oh, like play with my belly button or things like that. But it's always but the people like the gainers always I've seen that are more interested in the belly button stuff is like, oh, I want to get so fat that you can fuck my belly button.
Precisely. It's kind of that point. We talked about the Catherine Gates map of sexuality once upon a time. And what's interesting is when you think about the concept of sexuality as a sort of three-dimensional space that you can move in, you think about the idea of a radar. There's a ping and it ripples out from there. And depending on where your center point is, it ripples and it touches different things in different ways. I think for someone who might call themselves a gainer classically, they would consider gaining as maybe their prominent sense of sex, and something like belly button or whatever kink might be a sort of an echo, a lesser extent, but no, that'll work. Versus people who, much like yourself, know belly button's a thing. And then gaining is just the little echo that comes afterwards, like, yeah, fatness is alright, but belly button is where it's at.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what like that's what I could describe it to. My upbringing as I navigated through it.
So with that said then, do you identify, because I know we talked a little bit about this like on the private, do you identify as a gainer then? Or is it more for the fact of being in the community and being in a larger body, that's just a label that you adopt?
I would say I consider myself a muscle gainer now because I really am trying to like find a gym, but also I have been fat my entire life since like to the people out there, I was 9.5 pounds at birth, and like it's like I've never always been fat, literally always. Even like when I was in high school and lost a ton of weight, I always had hips, a belly, thighs, an ass. Just I used to work at Starbucks, and when I did, and I had my hair in a ponytail and my hat on, many people would go, ma'am, and then I would turn around slowly, and then they would see the beard and they go, oh, sir. Like I'm just that's just how I'm built. And so with that, I found this space because as a kid, I felt a lot of shame and like disconnect from my body because of it. Mostly because I went out into the world and was told, "Oh, you're ugly." And then I would come home and my mother, who bless her heart, I'm really close with her. I love her. Extremely fitness addict, like borderline like disordered eating, I wasn't able to escape it when I came home. And so it wasn't until like I got older and like I found the community and was like, oh, I'm attractive to people. And so I had to. It kind of helped me realize like, oh no, I'm allowed to I'm allowed to be attractive. Like I don't have to make concessions or try and like be the funny person or the one with the good personality because he's fat, so like he has to have something.
No, that makes perfect sense. So I suppose I'd like to ask here, like, and maybe let's look at the muscle gaining side of it, right? How much do you feel like the belly button stuff has influenced your approach to muscle gaining and vice versa? Basically, like, walk us through the interlocked webs and threads that link them together.
I mean, I would say one of my like most interesting things is that I like to see belly buttons change over time, like guys who like start really thin and then get fatter and like watching it change over time because it changes for everybody differently. Some people's gets deeper, some people gets more shallow, some it gets wider, like it really changes. And so whenever anybody's, I guess, belly button changes like that, I always find it really interesting. And because I've always been fat and always been like this, I would like to kind of see what I mean, also for like all other like overall body things, like I would like to see what that looks like on myself, as well as I'm getting older, my body is changing. That's not something I'm going to apologize for, but I'm also getting older and I have to start worrying about like health things. Like I've 3 of my 4 grandparents had type 2 diabetes, like hypertension runs on my dad's side, and it's things that I really want to like get ahead of because I have it for so long. And
Also,
just
if you
like
think we're going to make a Trixie Cartier reference and we're not going to pick up on it, you'd be sorely mistaken because you say that your body is changing and that's not something you're going to apologize for. And I would say, I wish you would. I wish you'd stop. Oh, go.
I'm in good company.
Guess which one of us is which?
Oh yeah, that's the question. Who's Trixie and who's Katya out of these?
James is Trixie, Tim is Katya. Down.
Proceed.
Clocked. Absolutely. It's always fun in every duo. It's different. Like I could be the Trixie in one duo and the Katya in another. I could go on. I'm sorry. I digress.
No, perfectly fine. And listen, I will say it's interesting hearing that perspective of like the way in which the belly button specifically kind of informs the rest of the body and the way in which it kind of opens you up to the potential of other things as well. We had this conversation with Barney, the Muckle Stoner, on his episode on clan kink, and I think it is so interesting that sometimes we really do underestimate as gainers. Like, we look at gaining as a kink thing. I think for many people, it's not a kink. It's just a sexy gender body thing, and that they're generally very vanilla people, which I think would explain why they are so kink phobic sometimes.
Well, and
know who you are.
There was something else that we had talked about, like when you had talked about going to the clown event and how many guys there were like into the idea of somebody getting fat along with whatever it is else that they're into.
Oh yeah,
and like that just goes to show that, like what you've always been saying is that like it transcends all these different places because like when I go to leather events, some of those guys they're turned on by gaining, but it's not their primary thing. Like the event is for their primary thing. Like the clown event you went to is for that primary thing. But we're fucking everywhere. And if we could just stop with the self-segregation, I think we could realize that like everybody's a little bit into this in one way or another.
The hand wringing, the whole, no one could shut the fuck up. You're not that interesting. And we're not. We're not. We talked about this on the gaining spectrum episode. Like, baby, there are people out there who need you to slice them off at the elbow joint to get an erection. I just want to have a bit of cake. Like, on the spectrum of what could be considered normalcy, we are as vanilla can get, except we're vanilla cake, right? Like it's just not that hard to comprehend the idea of what do you like about fat? I like that it's comfy. I like how it feels. I like the squishy. I like the hard. I like the heavy. I like the soft. I like the texture. I like all of it. And therein leads us back to the whole belly button of it all. Like, I would think it weird if someone was like, I don't see what could be sexy about a belly button. What do you mean you don't understand? It's a whole.
Right.
It's a part of all the things that we already love. Someone just decided that, oh, I actually just happen to super duper like this particular section of it all. Like, you know.
You know, though, for someone who would say something like, "Well, I don't get what's sexy about it" or any of that, it's like, but you would notice if it wasn't there, because I remember when there was a TV show called Kyle XY, and he didn't have one, and like people found that really freaky.
Oh yeah.
Well, because historically, like there have been belly buttons are also kind of a symbol of maternity in the sense that like you had a mother. For example, one of my favorite statues, who I think that I'm built after, is the Venus of Willendorf. I
Oh,
feel like
icon.
I love her. Right, love her. Put her on Drag Race; she would do so well. Body icon. But she had a belly button, and this was a statue that was from what, like 5,000 years ago, so, like longer than that, so long,
As far as
so long
anyone
in human
knows,
history.
it could potentially be the very first depiction of a goddess ever. No one
Yeah.
really is sure.
Exactly, and there's so many other goddess statues that have been found all over, like all over the world, and it's a depiction of a woman figure with very large breasts, a large stomach, and a belly button.
Mm.
And while we still don't know entirely what we think it resembled, what the most popular theory is that it's some kind of fertility idol.
Well, because also, like, sometimes people try to fucking, like, over intellectualize things. It's the whole, like, we don't understand how ancient Egyptians built the pyramid. Yeah, we do, motherfucker. They just had, like, the materials to do the thing. And, like, we build up this idea that, like, it must have been so much more Baby, like, people aren't that clever. People aren't that smart. They're not. Like, things are usually exactly what they are. So if you see an idol of a curvaceous woman with huge titties, hips, belly button, what does she represent? Probably birth, probably fertility, probably hearth, and all of that other kind of shit.
Well,
You know?
and there were male gods that had some of those attributes, like Hapi, the god of the Nile, was depicted as being fat and having female breasts, as having like milk producing female breasts, because he was the god of the Nile.
Now, I'm gonna go on a bit of a speech here, right? So, because I want to make sure that we're talking about, you know, we're addressing that there are other partialisms. You are a belly button person yourself, but of course there are others, and I'm gonna speak to them here, right? So you've got things we mentioned: foot fetish, which is podophilia. You've got an eye fetish, which is oculophilia. Armpit, which is mascalagnia. And like I've seen like pit sniffings come back in a real big way recently. I think especially with sniffies, the armpit girlies are having a moment.
I came out as bi when I was a freshman in high school, and then gay in like college. But I've like since I like came out and was a sexual being, I always knew I was into like of course like you see stuff. And I would say like pits were not a thing when I was like in high school, and now like in the last few years, like pits are becoming a thing.
Y'all just weren't looking in the right places. That's why.
I see, Tim. I see. She was sat. Yo, you didn't see this, but she was sat there sucking her teeth, waiting to be like, "I'm a pit pig." Like,
Yeah.
Well, she's been waiting. She has been waiting.
Yeah. So I can't help it. But yeah, y'all weren't looking in the right places, that's all.
well, listen, Tim. You might have yourself a case of mascalagnia. You know, have
Yeah,
you
I'm
considered
glad
that?
that we don't bother to call it that, because that's really long, and I don't think that's gonna roll easily off the tongue at a party. Be like, oh, we're all here for the what is it?
Mascalagnia.
Mascalagnia. See, no, it's no. I'm glad we don't
Anyways.
call it that.
Anyways, breast fetish, masophilia, buttocks fetish, pygophilia, nose fetish, nasophilia, hair fetish, trichophilia. Now, Miss Belly Button Fetish, you are what is called alvenophilia, if you've heard that term before.
I have not. I have not heard that term. No,
Okay.
we just call it's. I just heard like umbilicophile a lot too.
Umbilical.
Well, that's kind of like we, as gainers, we don't go around calling ourselves adipophiliacs. So,
I have
That's
seen.
true.
I mean, of course, I've seen puns on that, but like you see puns on every single kind of anything on Grommr because we're all gay.
Yeah, that's true. So, belly button kink, alvenophilia, related to belly kink, which is alvenolagnia, hand kink, cheirophilia, and leg kink, crurophilia. Now, these are just some of the most common partialisms that are out there. And again, the whole premise of a partialism is that it is about a specific body part that people have a just driven and specific thing towards. But I'd like to put it to the pair of you all. How do you see gainer kink interacting with some of these different partialisms? Like, what kind of narratives make sense for that?
Well, I think it's that, especially for the people who are into like full body transformation in terms of the gaining aspect, like a lot of like your hands, your feet, your legs, like your ankles, like all of that changes as you gain weight and things change. And I think it's a part of it that's like, because it's all encompassing. Like I pretty much deposit fat pretty evenly all over my body, mostly around my hips, but like it goes everywhere.
I'd echo that. I mean, aside from eyes, those don't usually change. You're
Well,
still
even
in.
here is what I was thinking. So, one of the things people love most about a before and after, let's say, is they love to see the person that was into the person they become. And something that you do hear reflected a lot in a lot of weight loss diatribe. If someone is quite large, they lose a lot of weight, and they go and they meet people again and they don't recognize them, they'll often say, look at the eyes, because the eyes don't change. And so actually, I would see an inverse sense of romance and sexuality. That sense that, oh, I look into your eyes, which I'm so very attracted to, and I see the same person that is now so much fatter than when you were thinner. And because the casing around it has changed, because so many other facets have changed, but I still can cue in to the person that you are consistently as a through line between that. Like, I think there's a trope of romance that could follow through with Tim, you don't look convinced.
Well, no, I'm sorry because the whole thing kind of sounds like I don't know. It got very Beauty and the Beast there, where it's like it's your eyes, it is you, and then I was thinking, but
I
if that
mean,
like to
maybe.
relate it to what we're talking about, it'd be like as if he turned from the Beast into like a morbidly obese version of the Prince, and she's
But
like, it
Look,
is you, it's
maybe.
your eyes.
But can you imagine if the beast turned into like some kind of like muscle like X jock instead of whatever he was?
Oh, like if his body had like aged to the point of, or had
Or
somehow
if he was just
reflected
hairier?
like. Or yeah, if he had just been ugly, like there's no guarantee he was good looking when he was turned into a
Just
beast.
ugly.
So
Listen, the whole point in this being none of us here are eye kinksters. So if you yourself have an eye fetish and you would like to expound upon the links between eye fetish and gaining, please write into us at thiccradio@gmail.com and let us know all about it. But as we say, this episode is about partialisms, and we just want to give a little moment, a little shine to all of our other partialistic girlies out there. But that's enough about the others. We're talking about belly button stuff. Uh, you, of course, have been expressing about how belly button was the beginning for you, and it was that echo through that you eventually found your way into gaining. And I think, have talked a little bit around this. But do you think that people could discover something like a belly button kink through gaining, as gaining being the primary source?
I would think so, absolutely. Especially if like gainers, like I know a lot of gainers who have gotten fatter and have been like my belly button's gotten a lot more sensitive, or who like when or bloaters who are like when my belly's really full, it gets a lot more sensitive. And so I'm a big person, like I like to let my hands just like explore and wander. And so I'm very touchy feely. And so there's a lot of people who are like, if you're into that, it's like, why don't you like give it a try? That's what I would say. But yeah, I think it could lead in really well because it'd be like, oh, like that feels so much nicer. It also could potentially help them feel more relaxed, which then it's like, oh, then they could eat more. Kind of like the same with like belly rubs.
You know, and something else to consider, right? And bear with me on this one. When you measure yourself for trousers, it is not a hip measurement they're looking for. They're looking for a waist measurement. And your waist is more or less at your belly button. And so your belly button divot will appear at the apex, the zenith, the roundest, most outwardest part of the belly. So there is also something, to be said about, I guess maybe it's a bit laissez, but, like a target almost. Like, arrow finds the mark, X marks the spot. Like there's something almost indicative of if the belly, for so many of us, which is this treasure trove of a plaything, the belly button almost represents the big flag saying, "Hi, hello, I'm here. Look at me. I represent how big, how wide, how pendulous this is."
For me, it was always the cherry on the cake.
A cherry on the cake. There you go. And I've actually seen that motif before. A fat man laying on his back and they put whipped cream on the belly and then the cherry goes in the belly button. It's a perfect little spot for a little boop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like it's cute. Like I say, I get it. I think if people said, "Oh, I just don't see how that," I think that would be so weird. Like, how could you not? It makes sense.
I was just gonna say fear because that tends to be like we talk all the time about fat phobia, about the lengths that people are willing to go through to not gain weight. The Ozempic shortage that's really happening because people are so afraid of being fat. And not only are they afraid of being fat, but then like to add insult to injury, it's the whole like, well, I could go through the actual process of losing weight, like forcing myself to be conscientious and do the working out and changing the eating habits and lifestyle habits. But why do all that when I can just inject myself with some chemical and the pounds melt off and I end up looking like a heroin addict, but hey, I'm not fat.
And then there's people who aren't even fat that are taking Ozempic and looking in. I really think it's a return of like the heroin chic look from the 90s.
So I think there's something to be explored here in terms of gaining as a transformation. I think we talked a little bit about this when we were going through like different partialisms and the ways in which we can find them attractive, right? Like through gaining, all things are possible, right? It's the transformation element. But transformation isn't just the visual appearance, like the self is also changed in a way. And what I want to ask you about here is like, because your own pursuit of body confidence through to muscle gaining, and as you say, you've been big your whole life, like how has your approach to partialisms and belly button kink specifically here, how has that shifted over the years as your engagements and goals have shifted?
I would say that's like been the one main through point through all of it is that it's always just been something that I've been really into, and regardless of big, small, any outie, it's something that I've always really been attracted to, and it hasn't really influenced how I feel any other given way, but it's always been there as a through point.
No, it's totally fair. I've often thought of gaining as a consistent friend through all of childhood traumas and everything else. A fascination with bellies and with masculine size was always persistent for me, and so the pursuit of gaining for me has meant a fulfillment and an actualization of this comfort, of this stability for me. So I think that makes perfect sense. Now, I do want to ask you about something here, and I think this may be potentially controversial for some of our belly button girlies. I know that not all outies are like this. Some belly buttons are, in fact, naturally outies. And I think there is a bit of a fantasy kink within gaining, the idea of being stuffed so ridiculously full that your belly button would somehow pop out, right? But there are some that are navel hernias, and I would like to give you an opportunity to speak to this, because I imagine that there are probably going to be people on the belly button side of things that are all about it, some people who are not. But I'd like to ask you, since you are here with us, what is your take on the navel hernia-ness of it all?
So I am not here to yuck anybody's yum. I'm not here to tell anybody that like your kink is bad, your kink is that's not that's not what I'm here to do. That's not what I was put on this earth to do. That's not what any of us are here to do. I will say that when things become medical issues, it's because a hernia is it's what it is. As your intestinal wall is getting shallow, it's it's a medical issue. I'm not personally into herniated belly buttons. I know plenty of gainers that have had herniated belly buttons and have kept them for a while, basically until like they were so bad that they needed surgery. Eventually, if you have a herniated belly button and you continue to gain, it's going to get to a point where you are going to need surgery, because at that point it becomes life-threatening. And whether or not, like, some people are into death feederism, go for it. Again, not my thing. I enjoy people who are living. However, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, you are an adult. You have agency over your body. You can do what you please with it. And yeah, but at the same time, I'm also a big believer in self-preservation, and that, like, you should do what you can to keep yourself going. So it's a give and take, as I feel like most things really are. Because again, with gaining, like, these are like full on, like, this is like something that you're doing to your physical self. Like, it's not. We've talked about this a little bit before, where it's not like BDSM, where like it's not like you're constantly being whipped and in a chain or in a cross or something. Like, but with gaining, that's something that sticks with you. It's a lifestyle.
Tim, to put to you here as our medical person, a reference point here, like, what do you feel that people who engage in belly button kink should be aware of, at the very least, when it comes to, I suppose, naval safety and potentially recognizing points of concern with regards to belly buttons, especially as it pertains to things like this?
Just be aware that your abdominal muscles are beneath the skin, but that particular point is where the skin is thin. Like, it's a scar technically, but it's a thin scar, and so, like, it doesn't take much to pierce it. So just be aware of that. I've been told by men that are large enough to actually have their navel penetrated that you got to be careful, because it's not as deep as you think it is. Anything? Oh, remember, your intestines are also behind those abdominal muscles. And if you pierce the intestines, that's generally a really bad thing, because that's kind of complicated to fix. So just keep that in mind as well.
Listen, we've had conversations before about the idea of inflation using air. Same thing, baby. Your large intestine, she is a membrane. She can tear, things can rupture and fall out of your body. Like, absolutely, there are medical concerns for not approaching the thing correctly. But of course, the trick there is approach things with medical correction, do some research, make sure that people who are participating are understanding, and making sure that safety precautions are in place. But I'd like to pivot here, rather 180, since we've just been talking about some of the heavier sides of belly button kink. I would love it if you could share with us maybe some of the more fun stories and engagements you have had with belly button kink.
Absolutely. There have been many, I wouldn't say many. There have been quite a few instances where I'm very open about it on the apps when I'm like looking for whatever, and being like, this is what I'm into. Not a deal breaker if you're not into it. But there are many guys who have been like, yeah, like, I'm interested, I'll try that. And they walk away being like, can I come over and do this? Like, can we do this again? But like, find like that, kind of like discover that, wow, I really like having my belly button fingered, eaten out, XYZ. It happened with my ex. My ex was like, he's not like he's a civilian, I guess you would say, but he said that he really was into me because I had long hair, a big butt, and a belly. And I started eating out his belly button. He got very, very into it.
I have to admit that your body type description is exactly what I would have gone for too. So,
hey, I am single, gentlemen. I'm single and I live in Chicago. Come find me.
There we go. Listeners.
Actually, wait, don't come. Actually, no, don't come find me. Don't come find me.
Well, in that case, listeners, forget everything you heard. No, never mind. Scratch out. But no, I mean, look, it's good that you're having positive experiences, and it's good that there are people who are willing to open themselves up to them as well. I truly believe that sometimes we focus far too much on the idea of like the perfect person within kink. I have the opportunity to play with all these people around me, but none of them match the perfect idea I've either created in my head or that existed in porn, and therefore, like, I just don't want to meet up with them. So you end up missing out on all these opportunities, and I think there is something to be said about, putting oneself out there for potential opportunities. And I think that actually brings us to our final question of the episode, which is when it comes to things like partialisms and understanding one another, what advice do you have either for people who are like you, belly button kinksters, who are looking to connect with people in the broader gaining space, or people who are gainers who maybe want to dabble into something like belly button kink?
I would say don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. You're like, say go on if you have Grommr, go on the search feature. I look up belly buttons and navels all the time. Go and see who else is, go and find each other. Because then you're able to talk about it, and you don't have to feel like you don't have to bottle all of it. When I started getting online and talking to people, I had all of these feelings and things I wanted to say bottled up, and I had no one to explain it to that would understand it. And it really just comes down to find your people. We're out here. We're here. You have to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. We're nice people.
There you go. You've heard it here, right from the belly buttons. I was about to say mouth, but no.
I am the monolith of all belly button people. Come, please. We are good people.
There you go. Instead of Mecca, he's Maccas. That's what he is.
Maccas.
There you go. There you go, y'all. But listen, I think this was a cracker episode. Shayne, thank you so much for your time today, love.
Thank you. This has been absolutely lovely. It's been so great for all of us to just sit here, pick each other's brains, and just have a good old time. I've never really done something like this before, and I've had so much fun. And it's been so much fun getting to know you guys. You guys are amazing, great people.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, honey.
Of course.
Now, where can listeners find you online?
You can find me on Grommr and Instagram at hichew98, like the candy, and then 98 like the number.
Fabulous. Well, y'all, that's a wrap for now here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. If you liked this episode of the podcast, our guest, or just us in general, please share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccymouse and Grommr at Orpheus. You can also look us up on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or you can visit our website at podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you want to become a financial supporter of the show, you can donate through our PayPal, and you can always email us at thiccradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Spotify podcast.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinzen.
With original theme music by CYMK.